On John 15, verse 15, Jesus said to his disciples, I no longer call you servants, but I call you friends. So you must understand that in our Christianity or in our relationship with God, there are levels. We are not the same to God. That's why Jesus Christ said that now I no longer call you servants, but friends. Meaning that there are some who God considers just as servants, but there are some whom God considers as friends. So when we look at the life of Moses, we will discover that there was a point of time whereby Moses became, or Moses was considered a friend of God by God. You see, God was not speaking to Moses at all. For 40 years, the Bible says that Moses grew up in the palace of Pharaoh. So Moses was eating, he was dining, he was sleeping with Pharaoh in the same house, in the same palace, meaning that he was a friend of Pharaoh, and the Bible said that God was not speaking with him. Up until Moses decided to rebel or to retaliate against Pharaoh. And the Bible said the moment Moses rebelled, God began to speak with Moses. The moment Moses ran away from Egypt and he began to fight against Pharaoh, then God spoke to Moses. It means that all the time when God wasn't speaking to Moses, God was waiting for Moses to fight Pharaoh. So, as long as Moses was seeing Pharaoh as a friend, as long as Moses was seeing Pharaoh as a person who he can be close to, meaning that as long as Moses he was seeing Pharaoh as a friend, God was not willing to speak to Moses. But the moment Moses began to see Pharaoh as an enemy, God began to communicate. God began to share the things of his kingdom with Moses. So what I'm saying, child of God, is that you become a friend of God when you become an enemy of Pharaoh. Who is your Pharaoh? Because the same way God waited for Moses to fight Pharaoh, the same way God waited for Moses to rebel against Pharaoh and then begin to speak to him, is the same way God is waiting for you to rebel against that sea, to rebel against that system, to rebel against that government, to rebel against that person. The moment you rebel against that sin, that will be the same moment where God will begin to share with you the things of his kingdom. So you're wondering why you try to study the Bible, you don't get anything. You try to pray, like you don't hear anything. It's simply because you are not yet an enemy of sin. God is waiting the same way God waited for Moses to become an enemy of Pharaoh. It's the same way God is waiting for you to become an enemy of that sin. Who is your Pharaoh? Because I'm telling you, the longer you take to become an enemy of that sin, is the longer it will take for God to begin to communicate with you. The moment Moses became an enemy of Pharaoh is the moment God began to speak to him. The moment you too you become an enemy of that sin is the moment God will begin to speak to you.